Today on Comic Misconceptions, I'm still recovering from Thanksgiving, so roll it. Welcome to Comic Misconceptions, the greatest show on the internet, as said by the host, Scott Niswander. And today, we're going to talk about my top 5 favorite food-themed comic book characters, as I promised you like 2 weeks ago, but then Thanksgiving happened, and then I couldn't do it. But now we're back, and we're gonna do it. So, yes. Now, you might not think that comic book characters and food go well together, but I do, I certainly do. In fact, I made this.
Just what was it that landed you this job pushing pancakes, huh? What was it?
Smells like victory. This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another.
$1 song, $2 song. That's what you get.
Lad, I have kids to feed.
Well, you don't like falafel?
Come on, here, you can have a piece.
Thank you.
Boy, am I glad to see you. I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get these cranberries.
Now you'll tell me why Superman peanut butter tastes so great. Never.
Now that you're thoroughly on my level, let's go ahead and get into my number 5 pick for favorite food-themed character. So starting out at the bottom of my list is the character that was also the answer to last week's trivia challenge, which was, what hungry character comes from the planet Bismol? I just realized I'm wearing the same shirt I did the last top 5 episode did, and the answer is Matter Eater Lad, thanks to Oliver Dalby123 and many others for getting it right. Matter Eater Lad, if you're not familiar, does exactly what his name implies. He is a lad who eats all forms of matter. Now you might not think that this counts as a food-themed character, because he's just eating garbage and not actual food, but to you I say, this actually does count in my book. Matter Eater Lad and all the inhabitants of Bismol, which that name we're just gonna overlook for right now, have the ability to eat all forms of matter, but it's not just a weird power, it's actually a survival mechanism. You see, their entire food supply was deemed inedible thanks to little microbes infecting, little microbes is a little redundant, I realize now after saying it, but basically they had to adapt to eat anything but food, and after a while, all of the things that aren't food become their food because that's the only thing they can eat. So whether he's eating dirt or yummy yummy ray guns, to Matter Eater Lad, that's food, and that's why he's on my list. Number 4. Coming in next on my list is a Wonder Woman villain named Egg Foo from the island of Oolong. Seriously? Okay. Basically, he's a giant sentient egg, because why not? Comics. But he is also, if you haven't guessed already, it's a pretty racist character. He's referred to as the Oriental Mastermind, and also talks in a weird dialect. I mean, listen to how he says this. The foolish Americans do not know that the instant any of their pilots attempt to take photographs of our installations, they might as well press a trigger against their own planes. Hee-ho. Really, comics? Really? He earns a spot on my list purely because of that amazing mustache of his, and the writers know how to capitalize on it too. Thrill the most startling villain ever devised, debatable, the Oriental Egghead, more racism, and his mustache trap, never before shown. What's interesting about Egg Foo, besides all of it, is I know he has a mustache, but does he technically qualify as a man? I only ask because the mustache trap would only be effective if Egg Foo was technically a man, because one of the original weaknesses to Wonder Woman was she couldn't escape any trap if she was bound by a man. We gotta do a Wonder Woman episode. This stuff is kind of crazy. Number 3. Guys, I love Scott Pilgrim, one of my all-time most watched movies. It's amazing. The comic book that it was based off of is equally glorious. And if you haven't read or seen the movie, what are you doing with your life? just go now. Watch it. It's incredible. So a quick synopsis is that Scott Pilgrim has to fight. Defeat Ramona's 7 evil ex-boyfriends.
7 evil exes, yes.
Right, if he wants to continue to date her. One of the guys he has to fight is Todd Ingram, who is a vegan. Graduated top in his class at Vegan Academy and everything. Because Todd is vegan, he gets these super mind powers that he can do crazy stuff with. Why? It's just a fact of science. The main thing to know is that he's better than most people. I will stop quoting it now, but seriously, go watch it. But being vegan gives Todd these incredible powers, but if he breaks vegan edge by, say, eating gelato or chicken parmesan or coffee with half and half, all of which not vegan.
Chicken isn't vegan?
Then the vegan police show up and shoot him with the de-veganizing ray and strip him of all of his powers. Guys, I have a brother who's vegetarian and I don't even know how he does it, so I can't even imagine going vegan, but if I get super mind powers, then from this day forward, I, Scott Niswander, will be vegan. Couldn't do it. Number 2. Batman, as we all know, has had a ton of ridiculous villains over the years, and this one is actually a throwback to those oddly themed criminals. His name is Condiment King, and yes, that is a giant pickle on his head. And in the classic Batman villain style, he makes a lot of bad puns around his theme. Take a look.
I knew you'd catch up to me sooner or later. How I relished this meeting.
There you go. He doesn't really appear to be all that threatening right now, but after a brief stint at Arkham Asylum, he looks even crazier. I mean, he's still not very threatening. A little bit, though. Still has a little bit of catch-up to do. He wants to play with the big dogs. Puns. Sorry, number 1. So my number 1 pick has everything, guys. He's got a terrible name, a terrible power, and even a worse weakness, I think, that doesn't make sense to me at all. Of course, I'm talking about the unforgettable, only appeared in 1 issue ever, I Scream. It's spelled I Scream, not like ice cream, which is weird to me because his power is that he can turn into any flavor of ice cream, so I don't know, it has nothing to do with eyes or screaming. Why would you pick that name? 'Cause puns? I don't know. But yeah, he's a mutant, which means he was born with this ability to turn into a Cold Stone Creamery. His 1 issue that he was in, he wanted to destroy the X-Men because next to them, his powers looked kinda lame, which, alright, let's be honest, buddy. Even without the X-Men, your powers are kind of lame. Though I do think that there would be less anti-mutant propaganda going out if you can just solve the problem with free ice cream. Obviously his plan failed and he was frozen in the danger room, presumably carried off to live the rest of his life in jail. But let's get back to the fact that a guy whose power is that he can turn into any flavor of ice cream was defeated by being frozen. I feel like he should be used to being frozen. If anything, his weakness should be, being melted. But actually, he kind of does that on his own, using an unstable molecule chest refrigeration unit. Because what else are you gonna do with your spare unstable molecule chest refrigeration unit? Well, that's my top 5 favorite food-themed comic book characters. Let me know if I missed any in the comments. Let me know what your favorite is as well. Or if you wanna list your entire top 5, do so as well. I love reading what you guys think. So right now, we have to move on to the weekly trivia challenge. Get that train rolling. Back when we were talking about egg foo and how I wanted to do an episode about Wonder Woman, I feel like maybe I should put my money where my mouth is and do that. But then I remembered another character that I really wanted to do an episode about for a really, really, really long time. And I figured, hey, why not? We've talked about Topo, the most amazing sidekick to ever be in comic books ever. But did you know also that Wonder Woman had a sidekick at one point? So this week's trivia question is, what is the name of Wonder Woman's powerless chocolate-eating sidekick? If you know the answer or just want to leave your best guess, you can do so by leaving it in the comments below. If you're right, you could be featured on the show next week. So get started on the weekly trivia challenge. You guys had some really interesting things to say about the 9 realms. Let's see what they are. Really quickly though, in last week's episode about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and the Spider-Man balloon, I said it was gonna be like the first year they would have a Spider-Man balloon. This didn't sound right when I said it, and I looked it up, and the source that I had said it was the first one, but doing a little bit more research, I found out that it's actually not true at all. In fact, there's been a Spider-Man balloon that's flown from 1987 to 1998.
Evildoers beware, Spider-Man is armed with a special power.
I just don't have any memory of it. And the Spider-Man balloon from this year's parade has flown since 2009, so definitely not the first time. The Stoned 81 says that Nidavelir's the place to be and asks, how come the dwarves haven't taken over any of the other worlds? I mean, honestly, I agree with you here. The dwarves could create weapons that are much better than anything that any other citizen would have on the other 8 worlds. Like, they could do that easily. So they've probably just shown some pretty good restraint, I guess. This is a video game reference, right? I don't play video games. I'm sorry, don't hate me. Wow, such realm. Much puppy, very woof. Wow. I think a 10th realm of hobbits is only logical, but what would we call it? Comments. If you have anything interesting to say about this week's episode, please leave it in the comments below. It could be featured on the show next week as I try to address all the cool things that you guys have to say. Also, subscribe to NerdSync Productions for more comic misconceptions every week. We'll see you next time. It's really good jerky. I'm gonna have to finish that later. Shut up, plane. I'm in the middle of science. I don't know, does this count as science?